Leo shared his dorm suite with 3 alphas. One was Jax, the campus jock, all muscle and impulse. Another was Caleb, the university's heartthrob, effortlessly charming with a trail of admirers. The third was Ethan, the resident genius, a quiet and focused academic titan. They were all textbook alphas. Only Leo was the exception, an unassuming Omega who had slipped through the cracks of the university's housing system due to a clerical error in his secondary gender test results. His roommates knew the truth, and for an entire year, their cohabitation had been surprisingly peaceful. Leo touched the back of his neck, his gaze sweeping over his 3 roommates with a burning intensity. Jax was doing pull-ups on the doorframe, sweat dripping from his brow, as he grunted out a challenge for Caleb to join him for a video game match later. Caleb, busy perfecting his hair in the mirror, dismissed him without a glance, mentioning he had a date with a senior Omega. Jax grumbled about his friend's priorities, lamenting all the times he'd brought Caleb coffee in the morning. Their daily bickering was a familiar rhythm, a stark contrast to Ethan's constant, studious silence. Ethan's world revolved around his physics experiments. None of them had ever shown any sign of being interested in him. It seemed impossible. He decided to be direct. His voice cut through the morning quiet, sharp and accusing. He demanded to know which one of them had bitten him the night before. The air went still. Jax's hand slipped, and he tumbled from the doorframe. Caleb, startled, tripped and fell right on top of him. Ethan's pen jabbed through the paper he was working on, leaving a small, violent hole. All 3 of them wore expressions of pure guilt. A chill ran down Leo's spine. They had all done it. How could this have happened? They were supposed to be friends, brothers. He couldn't fathom any of them having feelings for him. The whole mess began with a paperwork mix-up. He'd been assigned to the alpha-only dorm under the assumption he was one of them, and for months, the 4 of them had gotten along seamlessly. The illusion shattered on the day of the big basketball game against the state university's team. Leo and Jax, both starters for their team, moved in perfect sync, racking up points. Victory was within reach when a delicate, sweet scent of roses began to permeate the gymnasium. Leo, wiping sweat from his brow as he ran, was oblivious, lost in the heat of the game. Jax, closest to him, suddenly covered his nose, pointing out that the smell seemed to be coming from Leo. In that moment of confusion, a rival player stole the ball. The towering alpha from the other team dribbled around Leo, taunting him, but his smirk quickly dissolved into a look of shock. He clutched his nose and mouth, his face turning a deep red before he collapsed, writhing on the court as if poisoned, his own potent alpha pheromones flooding the air in a panicked response. Leo stumbled back, insisting he hadn't touched the guy. The referee's whistle blew, but it was too late. The rival alpha's pheromones acted as a catalyst. A switch flipped inside Leo, and an overwhelming wave of his own scent erupted from him, a veritable explosion of roses. The remaining 9 alphas on the court instantly entered a state of rut, their own pheromones released uncontrollably. The gym descended into chaos. The situation escalated so quickly that campus police had to be called, and a fleet of ambulances transported the affected players to the hospital. It was a humiliating public debut as an Omega. Only after a full 4 drip of suppressants did his heat finally subside. Hearing he was hospitalized, all 3 of his roommates came to visit. Ethan paused his experiments, Caleb canceled his date, and Jax, who was also being treated, showed up with his own 4 stand in tow. Jax held the pole with one hand and his nose with the other, remarking with awe that Leo's pheromones were powerful enough to take down 9 alphas at once. Caleb gently wiped the sweat from Leo's forehead with a silk handkerchief, murmuring that the rose scent was intoxicating. He then held the scented cloth to his own nose, inhaling deeply and declaring he would never wash it. Leo was mortified. He couldn't believe Caleb wasn't worried about being driven into a frenzy himself. Caleb just tapped Leo's nose playfully, asking if he was worried about him. Ethan was the only one who seemed to retain a sense of normalcy, though even he was focused on Leo, studying his medical chart with intense concentration. Leo followed his gaze to a line of small print beneath an ultrasound image. It noted his reproductive cavity was well developed with no apparent abnormalities. A hot flush of embarrassment washed over him. He snatched the chart away, his voice thick with shame as he ordered them all to leave. Jax just laughed, pulling up a chair and stating that after sharing a room for a year, there was no need for modesty. Caleb sat beside him, pulling out his phone and suggesting a gaming session, which Jax eagerly agreed to. They immediately became engrossed in a loud, frantic game in the corner of his hospital room. Ethan, surprisingly, didn't leave either. Leo asked if he wasn't going to be in the lab all night, worried he was disrupting his important work. Ethan didn't answer directly. He simply moved to the bedside, pressing down gently on Leo's hand and cautioning him to stay still to avoid dislodging the foreneedle. He sat down, cupping his warm palm beneath Leo's hand, which was growing cold from the chilled suppressant fluid. The warmth from Ethan's hand was a stark, pleasant contrast. Leo found himself looking up at him. Ethan had a refined, handsome face with delicate features, cleaner and more striking, in Leo's opinion, than Caleb with his longish hair and earring. He thought Ethan was the one who truly deserved the title of campus heartthrob. Perhaps it was the hormones, but Leo's heart began to beat a little faster. Ethan noticed his stare, his own voice, a low and smooth baritone, asking if there was something on his face. Overwhelmed by a sudden rush of feeling, Leo seriously asked Ethan to call the doctor. Ethan, concerned, reached out to feel his forehead. The proximity made Leo's heart pound even harder. He grabbed Ethan's wrist, pleading for another dose of suppressants. The request was denied. The doctor sternly informed him he was already on the maximum dosage and that the best medicine was to simply stay away from alphas. Back in the dorm, Leo made a solemn decision. He announced to his friends that it was no longer appropriate for him to live there and that he would be moving out. Jax immediately blocked his path, his voice thick with panic. He pleaded with Leo not to go, asking who would wake him up for morning practice or grab his laundry from the dryer when it rained. He whined that he couldn't manage without him. Caleb shoved him aside, pointing out that he was the one who did all those things for Jax, not Leo. He then produced a box of suppressant patches from his own locker and handed them to Leo, explaining that as long as he used them regularly, his pheromones wouldn't be a problem. Jax snatched the box away, demanding to know why Caleb had them. He sneered, calling Caleb a player who was always prepared with Omega supplies. Caleb's face flushed with anger, and he kicked Jax, sparking yet another brawl. Leo backed away from the chaos and bumped into a solid chest. Ethan stood silently behind him. He placed a steadying hand on Leo's shoulder. His voice was low. He simply asked Leo about learning to rollerblade, offering to teach him. Leo looked up into his calm, deep amber eyes and found himself nodding. That evening, under the scattered lights of the campus athletic field, they found a quiet spot. Leo sat on a low brick wall, lacing up a pair of borrowed rollerblades, looking at Ethan with anticipation. He remembered seeing Ethan perform an intricate routine on blades during freshman orientation week and had been mesmerized. With Ethan as his teacher, he was sure he'd master it in no time. He held out his hands, and Ethan pulled him steadily to his feet. Then Ethan simply told him to go ahead and skate. Leo, who had no idea what he was doing, couldn't even find his balance. He took one wobbly step and promptly fell into Ethan's arms. He apologized profusely, scrambling to right himself, but the more he struggled, the more he fell. He flailed and stumbled, repeatedly collapsing against Ethan until he was breathless and exhausted, never having moved more than a few feet. A passerby even called out, asking if he was trying to plow the field with his face. Leo looked up at Ethan, exhausted and pleading for some actual instruction. Ethan's lips were pressed into a firm line, but his eyes were crinkling at the corners. He was trying his best not to laugh. Leo gave up, declaring he was done and dropping to sit on the pavement in defeat. But Ethan caught him, his arm wrapping securely around Leo's waist, holding him tight. He instructed Leo to keep his feet shoulder-width apart and shift his weight before taking a step. He promised to hold on, assuring Leo he wouldn't fall. With Ethan's strong, steadying presence, Leo managed to move forward, slowly and awkwardly. As they made their glacial progress around the track, Ethan spoke. He pointed out that most students in their engineering college were alphas, so moving to another dorm wouldn't solve the problem. He said it was better to stay with the three of them who already knew his secret. He asked Leo not to move out. The warm summer wind brushed against Leo's face, and the feeling of Ethan's arm around his waist was intensely present, the heat from his body seeping through Leo's thin t-shirt. Leo quietly agreed. He shouldn't have been so soft-hearted. He had stayed because they didn't want him to go, and now he was paying the price. He touched the teeth marks on his neck again, his voice rising in anger. He yelled at them for being so deceitful, for taking advantage of him when he thought of them as brothers. He declared that this time he was really moving out. Caleb rushed to embrace him, insisting it was an emergency measure, that Leo had been unwell. Jax blocked the door, his arms spread wide, arguing that Leo's pheromones were too powerful for any single alpha to handle. So they had all taken a bite? The logic was outrageous. Ethan, who had been silent, rose from his desk. His gaze was steady as he looked at Leo. He stated that he was willing to take responsibility. The formality of his words, almost like a proposal, made Leo's cheeks burn. He was only 19, he had his studies to think about. He couldn't be bonded to an alpha at such a young age. Besides, he knew Ethan didn't actually like him. He was just reacting to his omega pheromones. Leo remembered when he first moved in, back when everyone thought he was an alpha. Ethan had been the coldest of the three. One sweltering afternoon, with Jax and Caleb out, Leo was lounging in the non-air-conditioned room without a shirt on. When Ethan returned from the library, Leo greeted him cheerfully. Ethan had just frowned, his voice tight, and asked if he could please put on some clothes. Unaware of the tension, Leo had even tried to unbutton Ethan's own sweat-soaked shirt, telling him to cool off. Ethan had seized his wrist, his grip so tight it left a red mark. His eyes were wide and strangely intense, the edges tinged with red. It had scared Leo. After a long moment, Ethan had closed his eyes, forced out an apology, and left the room. Though their relationship had improved since then, Leo never forgot the strange, fierce look in his eyes. He figured Ethan simply disliked him but was too polite to show it. Not wanting to make things more awkward, Leo refused his offer of responsibility. He rented a small apartment off campus. That weekend, his three former roommates spent the entire day helping him clean and unpack. As they left that evening, Ethan hesitated at the door, finally just telling Leo to call him if he ran into any trouble, promising his phone would be on 24/7. Alone for the first time, Leo reveled in the freedom, binge-watching cheesy romance dramas with the volume turned up loud. But later that night, in the quiet darkness of his new room, he felt a pang of loneliness. He missed Jax's snoring and Caleb's sleep-talking. He even missed the soft glow of the lamp from the balcony where Ethan would stay up late to read. He missed them, but he was too proud to go back so soon. He forced himself to keep his distance for over a month. Then, something happened that sent him running back to them. He thought he was pregnant. Viciously nauseous and weak, he went to the clinic, only to be berated by the doctor for his lack of basic knowledge. Temporary marks couldn't result in pregnancy. The doctor asked when the nausea started and what he had eaten or smelled. Leo recalled walking home a few nights prior and encountering a rogue alpha releasing aggressive pheromones on the street. The smell had been disgusting and made him sick immediately. The doctor nodded, explaining it was a rejection response. The alpha pheromones from his temporary mark were still present in his glands, and they were so dominant that they caused a violent rejection of any other alpha's scent. Leo was stunned. One person's? The doctor confirmed it. Though he had been bitten by 3, the instruments detected only one successful mark. As Leo was leaving, red-faced, the doctor added one more bizarre detail. The tests had also detected another Omega's pheromones in his system, not his own. He advised Leo that 2 Omegas biting each other was pointless. Leo walked out of the clinic in a daze. There was another hidden Omega in their dorm room. His mind immediately jumped to Ethan. It all made sense now. Ethan's horrified reaction to seeing him shirtless, his quiet nature, his later closeness after Leo's own status was revealed. It was a bit disappointing. Leo had been developing a small crush on Ethan, but now he supposed they could only be friends or sisters. He pushed open the door to their old suite and announced his return. Caleb and Jax greeted him with enthusiastic hugs, which Leo used as an opportunity to get a comforting dose of their pheromones. Ethan stood by his desk, a faint smile on his face. Leo went over and gave him a tight hug too, winking conspiratorially. He would protect his fellow Omega's secret. Ethan looked puzzled but didn't question it. He gently touched Leo's cheek, noting he'd lost weight and asking if he'd been eating properly. That night, Leo asked to share Ethan's bed, claiming his own bedding wouldn't arrive until the next day. Ethan stiffened but agreed. Leo curled up against the wall, wrapping an arm around Ethan's waist. Ethan lay rigidly beside him, clearly trying to maintain a distance, still upholding his alpha facade. The next morning, Leo felt completely better, the nausea gone. The ambient alpha pheromones in the room must have helped. Still, he needed to identify the alpha who had marked him to get a proper antidote. He tried to piece together the events of that night. It had been his birthday. They had dinner, cake, and then went to a crowded, steamy afterparty at a frat house. He had been drunk, and the heat and alcohol had triggered his heat. Suppressants hadn't worked in nearly a year, and he had been caught completely off guard. He'd panicked and found Caleb, begging for one of the suppressant patches he'd offered before. Caleb, realizing it was too late for a patch, had pulled him into a secluded hallway. With Leo's pheromones spiraling out of control, Caleb had desperately decided to bite him, a last-ditch effort to help. But it hadn't worked. Soon, Jax found them, drawn by the scent. He understood the gravity of the situation, knowing Caleb alone couldn't overpower Leo's potent pheromones. He offered to help. Just as they were both about to bite him again, Ethan arrived. Leo, barely conscious, remembered being pulled away from them and into a strong embrace. He heard Ethan's voice saying he would take him to get a suppressant shot and that they didn't need to worry. Ethan was the good one. Even if he had bitten him, it was probably just an experiment to see if Oano marking worked. The real culprit had to be Jax or Caleb. The doctor's report described the marking alpha's scent as a complex blend of tobacco, leather, and a hint of rum. That sounded exactly like Caleb. But then, after a workout with Jax, Leo caught a faint whiff of tobacco on him as well. The clues were confusing. He decided to take them both to the gym, a place where sweat and hormones would surely reveal their true scents. At the gym, Leo faked an ankle injury and watched them. Caleb was on a stationary bike, and Jax was lifting weights, his muscles flexing. As Leo observed them, Ethan appeared, his expression cool as he asked if Leo liked what he was seeing. Thinking this was the perfect opportunity to fix Ethan's preferences, Leo enthusiastically praised Jax's muscular alpha physique, describing how appealing it was. Ethan's face grew darker with every word. Suddenly, he pulled Leo up from the mat, effortlessly lifting him into his arms. He carried him over to the weightlifting area, set him down, and then proceeded to lie down on the bench press next to Jax, easily lifting an impressive amount of weight. He was clearly competing. Leo watched, dumbfounded. For an Omega, Ethan was surprisingly strong. Soon, all three of them were sweating profusely. Ethan sat up, facing Leo, and slowly unbuttoned his shirt. The air filled with the scent Leo had been searching for: tobacco, leather, and rum. It was stronger near Caleb, who had just returned from the restroom. Leo pounced, grabbing Caleb and inhaling deeply at his neck. This was it. When Leo confronted him, Caleb looked panicked. He finally confessed, pulling a small bottle of cologne from his pocket. The scent was from Jazz Club, a fragrance he used to mask his true scent. He admitted he was also an Omega. A sweet, milky candy scent bloomed around him as he let his guard down. He had been faking being an alpha to get close to Jax, whom he'd had a crush on since high school. Leo was floored. If Caleb was an Omega, and the doctor had only detected one foreign Omega scent on him, Caleb's, then that meant Ethan was an alpha. He had climbed into an alpha's bed. He had encouraged an alpha to admire other alphas. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He turned to face the others. He looked at Jax, who quickly denied being the one who marked him, admitting he only broke the skin before stopping himself. All eyes turned to Ethan. The air crackled with tension. Ethan's voice was quiet but clear. He admitted it was him. A firework seemed to explode in Leo's mind. Ethan walked toward him, his complex, intoxicating scent of tobacco, leather, rum, and vanilla surrounding Leo. He explained that on Leo's birthday, he had intended to give him a suppressant shot, but Leo had fought him in a delirious state, shattering the vial. In his heat-induced haze, Leo had smelled Ethan's true scent for the first time. The 100% compatibility between them had made him lose control. He had thrown himself at Ethan, tearing at his shirt, offering his neck, and declaring that he belonged to him. The memory made Leo want to disappear. Ethan cornered him against the wall, his thumb gently tracing Leo's jaw. He asked if Leo remembered now. Leo mumbled that it wasn't an act. He had subconsciously refused to believe Ethan would actually mark him, thinking he disliked him. Ethan's expression softened into something between exasperation and fondness. He reminded Leo of the time he'd found him shirtless while he himself was in rut, asking who was truly tempting whom. He listed all the things he'd done for Leo over the past year: saving him a seat in class every morning, finishing his lab reports when he was too lazy. He called him a little wolf, asking how he could be so heartless as to only remember one harsh word. Leo was silent, his skin tingling where Ethan's fingers touched. He whispered an apology. Ethan leaned in, his warm breath by Leo's ear. He said he didn't want an apology. He just wanted to know if the words Leo had spoken that night were still true. His voice was a low murmur, asking if Leo was his. The world seemed to stop spinning. Leo slowly raised his arms, his hands finding their place around Ethan's neck as he pulled him closer. He affirmed it, a quiet surrender. He was